quick, I'm going to show you two of the same video, but the only difference being that the music is different per each video. Why am I asking you to do such a mundane task? Well, if I were to ask, which track fits better and which track do you think would have been made with this video in mind, most people would have probably said the first track. Music in cinema, theater, and video games are all extremely important to storytelling. The music sets an atmosphere and also lets you know when the main character is about to go ham on a villain. This is how artisanship works. But wait, what is artisanship? Artisanship is how and why a piece of artwork was made. Now, this shouldn't be confused with aesthetics, however. Aesthetics are what we find pretty about a song, and artisanship focuses more on the values we associate with that song. Artisanship uses 4 criteria determining how good a track is. First is how it was made, like the instruments and the pitches. Second is how compelling the track is. Third is the coherence of the track. And finally, the universality of the track. But, for the sake of this video, universality is going to be tied more towards the characters in question. For the case of this presentation, I will be looking at 3 different tracks and analyzing why each tracks were made the way they were. These tracks I have chosen to analyze come from a popular show and anime series, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In my opinion, these tracks perfectly embody the characters and personalities, actions, and weight for the series. We are starting off strong with one of the strongest characters in fiction I have ever seen in my life. Our first track perfectly embodies the sounds of the hero's journey, the noble knight and the vanquisher of evil. What makes this track so compelling is the story the song tells without any lyrics. The key of the song switches between a dark and evil sounding A minor, then to a more heroic sounding D minor. Jonathan Joestar was the first main character of the series, and his theme song is perfect for his character. For one, he was a noble in late 1800s Britain, which helps explain why they chose a more orchestrated track opposed to a much cooler sounding EDM track we hear for all the other main characters in the later series. We also know what Jonathan has been through all the way up until his death. It has been a complete tragedy for him, hence to why the song sounds very dark and gloomy at certain parts. However, during the climax of the song, we hear the horns and strings of a hero overcoming these tragedies, and paving his own path void of any more tragedy. This part of the song is loud and played in a D minor. The pitches of the instruments are high and ceremonious as they burst onto the track. As for the universality of this track, I can't really relate to this unless I'm at the store and my mom buys me a foam sword. However, it relates to Jonathan a lot better, and it plays more into his character of being a heroic knight character. Araki in his early years of creating JoJo was not the best writer, and his first part of the series was mainly a battle of good versus evil. And it was also pretty boring. But, as we grow older in life, we realize that not everything is merely good and evil. There are some nuances. Erich von Stroheim, the Nazi that climbed his way out of hell into a mechanical body to assist in stopping the world from being taken over by some big buff boys. Yeah. This song is very coherent with the type of character we are dealing with. When listening to this song, we hear a German opera singing about how man is evil and will only become better by becoming more evil. This fits his idea of being a Nazi pretty well. But there's also another motif that I want to mention, and these are the mechanical hammering sounds and the fuzzy leads that you hear. Stroheim as a character was blown up point blank with a grenade after sacrificing himself for the sake of humanity. However, Pop fiction likes to portray Nazi Germany as a scientific powerhouse, so he was rebuilt as a cyborg. Combining the German opera to show its ideals and the industrial instruments to show its form, another thing I would like to note is that the song is in F minor, which is described as a deeply angry but still composed and sociable key signature, which in my opinion shows off Stroheim's personality quite well. This is why the music is so compelling. Taking 3 separate traits from the character and putting them into musical motifs is a genius idea. This song was perfectly made for a guy with a gun in his stomach. We've analyzed a protagonist and a supporting character already. Why not look into something a little darker? Let me ask you this question. How do you go about creating a song for a manic serial killer obsessed with women's hands? Yoshikage Kira was a simple man that wanted to live a quiet life, but he was a bit more on the psychopathic side. The composers of this track knew exactly what they were doing when they designed this music. The song gave away a lot of coherence on the type of character Kira was, and the track itself was compelling to the audience due to its presentation. The song is played in A-flat major, which is also known as the key of the grave. This scale represents death and judgment. The quiet flutes, bassoons, and the piano match the idea of a quiet life. The way this song progresses makes the viewer feel uneasy and as if something is about to go wrong. This is perfect, considering that Part 4 is a murder mystery case, so you should feel like something is about to go wrong. Then, only for a short moment, at the climax, it hits quickly and explosively. This ties into the fact that he looks like a normal guy, but is secretly a psychopath. The sudden loud noise also ties into his ability to turn anything into a bomb. When the climax settles, the song goes back to being quiet, as if nothing happened. This is perfect considering the fact that later on he gains his ability to reverse time, known as Bites the Dust, without anybody remembering anything that he's done. Thus, everything going back to a quiet state. There are so many songs from JoJo I could have taken into account while making this project, but I felt that these had the most obvious parallels I could talk about. Whether there is a noble slaying a vampire, a cyborg Nazi, or a psychopath that is obsessed with women's hands, we can fairly assess what the song's purpose is. We can see just how the character acts in the show and see how their music reflects their personality and actions. This is why Artisanship is so important for TV series' music. Because if we did not have Artisanship, we would have something that would look like this. Doesn't really fit, does it? It is pretty funny though. I hope you all learned something new today about the importance of music in cinema, and the genius composers that can hide all these hidden meanings in a song. They can create a character-themed song that will hype you up every time you hear it. When you know all the hidden meanings behind a song, you really start to appreciate it a lot more. And then you look at the character that it reflects, and you realize all the parallels that you can draw between the two. It's really quite bizarre, isn't it?